I was folding towels on the end of our bed, humming without thinking, when I heard his voice drifting down the hall from the spare room. It wasn't loud, but it was clear, soft, measured, like he was trying to get every word right. I paused with a hand towel in the air because he never practiced anything. He winged everything always, but there he was talking in this careful way like he was holding something too delicate to drop. I knew, he said, and there was a long pause. I knew from the moment you sat on the kitchen floor eating cereal with me out of the pot because all the bowls were boxed up. I knew Hannah. I thought, oh sweet, he's practicing for the vows he's being sentimental about when we moved in together. We did that. We really did sit on the kitchen floor when we moved in. My brain made a little click noise. Hannah is my best friend, not me, not my name. He was saying her name in my memory. I set the towel down and I don't even remember walking. I was just suddenly outside the spare room, the door barely closed. His voice kept going, talking about how every version of his future had you in it and how the way you scrunch your nose when you're trying not to laugh made him want to be a better man. And then this picture of them driving at night with the windows down when a song came on and they sang off key. It wasn't me. It wasn't us. It was her. It was my best friend from the way he said her name down to the stupid nose scrunch she does since high school. It was like a glass slide under my feet. Every word he said rolled the world a little more until I was upside down. Talc in the air, no gravity. I pressed 2 fingers to the seam of the door, not really pushing, just needing something solid under my hands. He was smiling, I could hear it. He was smiling as he talked about the exact moment he knew, and it was not with me. He wasn't doing vows, he was practicing a proposal speech, and it wasn't for me. I stood there long enough to hear him say, I'm not perfect, but I want to hold your hand when you're old Hannah. He stopped and cleared his throat. He tried it again, this time with a different start, like he was testing lines in a mirror. He was not drunk. He was not joking. He did not sound unsure. He sounded in love. I went back to the bedroom with the towel still in my hand, and my arms went cold. I wish I could say I stormed in and broke his tongue for saying her name like that, but I've been carrying everyone else's messes for so long that my first instinct was to be quiet and pick up the pieces like a good little broom. That's who I am in this story. I pay the bills on time. I do the dishes when nobody asks. I call my mother twice a week because she won't call me first and she'll still tell me I don't do enough. I remind him to set dentist appointments that he never sets. I carry snacks in my bag for other people. I work full-time while he finds himself. And when he found his dream job, he quit after 3 weeks because his boss was a vibe killer. I love big and it makes me stupid, and I know someone's going to say it, and I'm saying it first just to get it out of the way. There, I know. So no, I didn't run in. I picked up my phone. I moved like I was moving in a dream. I opened the voice memo app. I hit record. I set it on the dresser, all casual, just in case I needed to prove I wasn't crazy later. That tells you everything, right? I already knew I might need proof, because he makes me feel like a drama queen when I ask basic questions. Because she laughs and says, oh babe, you know we're a package deal, when I ask her to respect my time. Because I've been told for years that the problem is my tone, my energy. He kept talking, sweet practiced words about how he wanted to spend forever showing you how seen she is. Hannah. Again and again the name hung in the air like a ribbon he kept tossing up to watch it catch the light. I wanted to be sick. I wanted to bang the door so he would jump. I wanted to scream until my voice broke. Instead, I folded the towel again, as if there was anything left that needed to be straightened. If this sounds like I'm calm, I wasn't. My heartbeat was in my mouth. My fingers felt like electricity was going through them. I texted myself one word, record. Then I sent the memo to my email. His iPad syncs to mine because he put his Apple ID on it when mine was in repair months ago and never changed it back. That little stupid laziness. That entitled laziness that has always cost me time. It might have saved me in the end. Let me back up a second. When I say Hannah is my best friend, I mean she is the person who held my hair when I puked in college, and the person I gave my spare apartment key to, and the person who stayed on my couch when her last boyfriend threw her clothes on the lawn. I bought her tacos when she had no money. I paid her half of my bonus once so she didn't get evicted. I never told anyone. When my dad had his stroke, she helped me make a playlist for the hospital because we thought it would calm him. She called him Dad sometimes. I called her parents by their first names, that close, family by choice. She was my maid of honor when he proposed to me last year. She's the one who cried hardest when I said yes, or so I thought. Now is where you say, why were you even still getting married if he was practicing a proposal speech for her? Because I didn't know. Because I was planning the whole wedding by myself while also doing double shifts and ignoring the way he and Hannah started to become a unit inside my unit. That's how betrayal works. You don't wake up in fire. It gets warmer and you tell yourself it's the stove. Looking back, the weird moments were there. He and Hannah started texting late at night about work stuff, even though she works in a totally different field than him. He kept asking me what songs does she like, what flowers make her sneeze, what makes her cry. He said he wanted to make my best friend feel included. He said he wanted her to be happy for our big day. He called her buddy and kid, and then he didn't, and I noticed, and I told myself it was fine. She would come over and sit next to him on the couch while I did laundry, and they would cackle at some meme. And I would feel like the mean math teacher telling them to get back to work if I asked them to fold a pillowcase. Little things. Once at a bar, we were with a group and someone joked, "You two are like a married couple," meaning him and Hannah, and she laughed and said, "He gets me," and he put his head on her shoulder for 1 second and I felt my insides go to slush. He saw my face and he said, "Oh my God, relax. You're literally my fiancé, don't be psycho." She snorted like it was the funniest thing in the world that I would feel anything at all. I told my mother the next day, trying to be soft about it because my mother will use any opening to tell me I'm dramatic. She said, "Well, if you acted more feminine, men wouldn't stray," and I hung up. She still says stuff like that. She said that when Dad forgot our anniversary. I should have stopped asking for a normal answer a decade ago. So yeah, the signs were there and I was tired, that's the truth. I was tired and I thought picking fights would make me lose the few minutes of peace I had between work and dishes. Drama takes time, I had no time, he knew that, and she knew that. Back to the hallway. I listened to him dream out loud about proposing to my best friend. I recorded it and then I stood in the bathroom and looked at my own face. It didn't look broken, it looked steady. That scared me almost more than anything. There's a steadiness that isn't strength, it's shock. It's the kind of stillness that deer have before the car hits them. He walked into the bedroom like nothing happened. He kissed my head on the way to grab his keys and said he was going to the gym. He always says he's going to the gym when he disappears for hours. He has the body of someone who has a membership and a key tag and uses it to hold his spot in the sauna. I said, "What are you working today?" He said back and shoulders, the same thing he always says, and it made me want to laugh in a way that would cut my tongue. He left. I sat down on the floor and closed my eyes. I thought about being 12 and my mother asking me to make dinner because she worked late and me burning the rice and her coming home and telling me not to cry about it because I didn't have time to care. That's what it felt like. Someone telling me not to feel something because they didn't have time to care. I called my brother. He's the only one who doesn't make me pay rent on my own feelings. I said his name and then nothing. He said, "Is it Mom?" I said no. Dad said no, he said him. And I started crying so hard I shook. He told me to breathe out and then in like I was learning how to be a person again. Then I told him and I sent him the recording and I heard his little gasp when the name Hannah landed. He said, "How do you want to do this?" And I realized those were the words I needed, not "do you want to do this?" How? He asked me for plan, not my permission to be mad. We made up. My brother told me to stop. He told me not to confront anything while I was shaking. He told me to make copies, so I did. I checked the iPad. His messages were all there because he never unsynced. There were hundreds of messages to Hannah under fake names saved in his phone as Grubhub and Dentist. I thought that was so stupid I felt insulted twice. Like I am so dumb I would buy that he has 4 dentists. Their messages were not all sex or anything. It's worse when it's tender. It's worse when it's boring and real. He sent her pictures of sunsets. She sent him voice notes of her crying because her manager said she should come in earlier. He told her she won't break. She can carry more than she thinks, and I guess that was me. The beast of burden he watched carry all of them and then wrote a poem about my back muscles while he sat in the shade. There was one message that broke me in a different place. He had sent a picture of a ring to her 2 days ago. He said, "I'm going to do it this weekend. I can't wait to finally give you what you deserve." She sent back a string of heart eyes, and then what about her? My name. She used my name once, not your fiancé, not your girlfriend. Me, he said, "She'll be fine, she's strong, she'll bounce." He was using my strength like it was padding on the floor while he shoved me. I called the jeweler. He used my credit card points to buy the ring. I didn't even know you could do that. He had logged into the account we use for groceries and used the points I've been hoarding for a trip. He put the deposit on our venue on that same account. He had used my hard work to finance his fairy tale for my best friend. I wasn't even the villain in their story. I was the piggy bank. I know people say go to the person first, not the world. I am here because I'm losing my mind and I need strangers to tell me I'm not inventing this. But I didn't go public that night. I went small. I canceled the venue. The deposit was non-refundable, but I didn't care. The manager said she was sorry and asked if I wanted to reschedule. I said, "No, but if a man named shows up with a different woman's name on paperwork, please don't seat him under the fake rose arch I picked." Made a noise that sounded like a laugh, trying not to be rude. I canceled the caterer. I called the florist. I told my boss I needed 2 days off. He asked, "Everything okay?" I said no. He said, "Take the time." That one normal thing felt like a warm blanket. I packed his things into boxes, not everything, just enough: shoes, shirts, that dumb hat he thinks makes him look like a musician. I put each box in the spare room where he had practiced his speech. I put a copy of the transcript on top. I printed 3 copies, one for him, one for Hannah, one for me, I guess, to remind me that I am not crazy. I printed the messages too. I put post-its on the ones that mattered. I didn't use a highlighter because it felt too mean. Then I texted Hannah. I said, "Come over at 7, emergency." She wrote back in 1 minute, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." She said, "I'm on my way." I texted him. I said, come home after the gym, I need to talk. He thumbs-upped me, like I was asking him to pick up milk. 7 came and he came first. He walked in and saw the boxes, saw the printer paper everywhere, and he went white, and then he smiled. That smile that says, I can get out of this. He said, babe, what is this? Like I had made a scavenger hunt that he didn't have time for. I said, sit, and he did because a small part of him is still scared of me when I mean it. He started talking before I did. Okay, let me explain, and I said no, and I put one finger up. Hannah came in hair wet from a fast shower, face shiny from running. She saw him and she smiled, and then she saw the table and she froze. I handed each of them a stack of papers. They didn't touch them. I handed them again. He said, what is this? I said, it's your voice. From earlier, and your words, and your dentist appointments. He looked at the top page. He closed his eyes. He said she was nervous about a presentation. I was practicing a speech to hype her up. He said it with a straight face. He said it like I was a child. I laughed. I laughed in a way that made me feel like I was going to fall through the floor and keep falling. I said, you practiced asking my best friend to marry you to hype her up. Said, you didn't hear it right, and I slid the transcript. He said, this is out of context, and I slid the messages. He said, we're just friends, and I read the part where he says, I can't wait to wake up to your freckles. He said, I didn't mean it, and I read the part where she says, what about her? And he says, she'll bounce. I said, do not call me she. Hannah cried. She does that thing where her tears are huge and round, and she makes little hiccup noises. It usually makes me rush over. Today I stayed in my chair. She said, we didn't plan this. We didn't set out to hurt you. I said, you didn't trip and fall into a ring, Hannah. She said it wasn't physical, like that was a medal. I said, congratulations. He tried to grab my hand. I pulled it back. He tried to drop down like he was going to do some big pleading kneel on the floor. I stood up and walked to the door and opened it. I said, take your boxes and leave, both of you. He said my name, and I don't want to write it because even reading it makes my skin feel too tight. He said, where am I supposed to go? And I said, to the person you love. And he looked at Hannah and she looked sick. And for a second they were 2 kids who broke a window, and I was the neighbor whose flower pot was dead at my feet. He packed. He packed messy, and he put his shoes on the wrong sides, and I didn't help him. Hannah said, do you want me to come back for my stuff later? And I said, there is no later. She said, we didn't do anything, and I said, you did everything. She reached out like she might touch my arm, and I stepped back like she was a flame. He tried one more time. He said, we've been growing apart, and I said, we have not. You've been practicing speeches, and he had the nerve to look offended like I was reducing something big to a line. But that's what it was. He reduced me to she'll bounce, and I reduced him to he practiced a proposal for my best friend. We were even in the ways that didn't matter at all. He left. Hannah left. I closed the door. My knees gave up and I slid down the wood and I sat on the floor and I shook so hard that my nails tapped the floor. I called my brother. He came over. He didn't ask questions. He made me tea and he put his hand on my back while I gulped air and tried to make it stay in my lungs. He said, I'm proud of you. That word didn't feel fake for once. Proud. The next day was awful in that boring way that hurt lives in. I called the company that does the invitations and canceled. I called the ring store and told them to hold. He texted me, we need to talk, and I didn't answer. He texted, you're misreading, and I didn't answer. Hannah sent me a long thing about how her heart didn't choose this, and I blocked her. My phone was quiet in a way that felt heavy. My mother called because my aunt told her a story my brother told his wife, who told her sister. She didn't ask if I was okay. She said, what did you do? I said he planned to propose to Hannah, and she said, men need warmth, and I hung up. I know some of you will say hug your inner child. I am tired of raising children who are older than me. I blocked my mother for a week. The sky did not fall. His mother texted me. She said, boys make mistakes. I responded, men choose. She said, I hope you forgive him, and I said, I hope you teach him. She didn't write back. Hannah's sister sent me a voice note of apologies that were all about how she never saw it coming, and I deleted it. So many people suddenly couldn't see. I started to think I had been seeing for all of us for years. He showed up 2 days later with flowers, yellow ones, my least favorite. I laughed again. He started on a speech that was worse than the proposal. He said, I was scared by the way you carry everything, and I said, you loved it until you didn't, and he said, we hadn't slept together in weeks. And I said, we did last Thursday, and he looked confused because he is a liar who can't keep lies straight. He said, Hannah said no, and I stood still. He said she can't do this to you, and for a second there was a small soft thing in me that wanted to be mean and sweet at once. I swallowed it. I said, you don't get a prize because she grew a conscience after the party. He cried. It was strange, but it did nothing. He begged. He said words about therapy and working on us and stronger than ever. He tried to make our history a glue. I told him to leave. He did. He texted me for a week from different numbers because I kept blocking him. He sent videos of him crying like I was supposed to clap. He said, you know me, and I thought, baby, that is the problem. I do. It has been a few weeks now. I moved out of that apartment because it smelled like his cologne and my detergent and the place where both of them met in the hallway and made me a ghost. I took the dog. He tried to argue, but the adoption is in my name paid with my card, and also the dog actually likes me. I changed my number. I told work the basics, and my boss said, take what you need, and that single sentence felt like a hug that actually held. I bought new sheets. I make toast in the morning, and I eat it over the sink, and the crumbs are mine. The quiet is mine. When I cry now, it's because my chest is loosening, not because my throat is tight. People ask what I would say to her if she showed up. The real answer is nothing. We talked enough in my head. I don't have to speak anymore. I already did the loudest thing I could do when I opened the door and told them to leave. I keep thinking about the line where he said, she'll bounce. About how casual it was. Some men love tough women. They love them like trampolines. They jump until their legs burn, and they swear the bouncing is mutual. They love that you bounce because it means they can fall and land on you and bounce again. They call you resilient, and what they mean is, we can hurt you and you will not break loud. They forget that resilient doesn't mean invincible. It means you bend, and then one day you remember you are not rubber. You are bone and heart and will, and you do not exist to catch anyone. I wish I could wrap this up with something neat, like I found a surprise support group and we all went for ice cream. The truth is messier. I go to therapy. I sleep a lot. I watch shows where people are kind for no reason, and it makes me cry faster than anything. My brother makes me dinner once a week and acts like it's normal. I open the window and sometimes the air smells like rain, and I think, okay. If you're reading this and you think maybe I'm overreacting, maybe it wasn't a proposal, know this. He said her name. He asked her to grow old with him in a room down the hall from where I was folding the towels I bought. He used my points to buy her ring. He told her I would bounce. He decided I was strong enough to survive, and that made me a safe sacrifice. I am done being the safe place someone builds a bridge over to get somewhere else. I am not asking what to do. I already did it. I just need to put it somewhere. I need to take this ugly, heavy thing and set it down in front of strangers and say, do you see it too? Do you see how I was carrying it so quietly that even the people who loved me didn't notice how my back was breaking? Do you hear his voice when you read his words and want to scream? If you do, then thank you. That is all I need. I was folding towels. He was practicing love, just not for me. Now I practice love too, for myself. For the version of me who believed people meant it when they said forever. For the woman who opened her own front door and asked the storm to leave. I wasn't wrong to hear what I heard. I wasn't wrong to say no. I wasn't crazy to record it because I knew later they would try to scrub the blood off the floor and tell me there was no cut. I know what I heard. I know who I am. I am the person who did not bounce. I am the one who walked. I am the one who saw. And I am tired, and I am sad, and I am for once not carrying someone else's smile on my back. It feels strange and it feels right. And if the next time I hear a speech, it is my own voice saying, I knew when I sat on my kitchen floor by myself and ate toast over the sink that I would never again confuse being used for being loved, then that is the only proposal I need to practice.